In the vibrant, bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, where the streets pulsed with life and the air was filled with the rich sense of spices and the sound of laughter, there lived a wealthy and influential man named Bolade. He was a man who had everything: success, power, and a beautiful wife named Sade, who had been by his side through all the ups and downs of their life together. But as the years passed and Sade grew older, she found herself unable to bear the children that Bolade so desperately desired. And so, with a heart full of selfishness and a mind clouded by his own wants, Bolade made the decision to take a second wife. Her name was Zuri, and she was everything that Sade was not: young, vibrant, and full of the promise of new life. From the moment Bolade laid eyes on her, he was captivated, and he wasted no time in bringing her into their home as his new bride. For Saad, the arrival of Zuri was a crushing blow. She had given everything to Bolade, had stood by him through thick and thin, and now she found herself cast aside like an old, worn-out garment. She was heartbroken, but she could not bring herself to leave. For despite everything, she still loved Bolade deeply. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Sadie found herself relegated to the role of a servant in her own home. While Bolade and Zuri lived a life of luxury and joy, hosting lavish parties and traveling to exotic locations, Sade was left to tend to the household chores and endure the cruel taunts of her husband's new bride. But Sade was not one to suffer in silence. She sought the guidance of a wise old shaman, a man renowned throughout the city for his ability to communicate with the spirits and see into the future. And one night, as Sade lay sleeping, the shaman appeared to her in a dream. "Do not seek revenge through immediate action," the shaman whispered, his voice echoing through the depths of Sade's mind. "Instead, be patient and cunning. Bide your time, and when the moment is right, strike with a vengeance that will shake the very foundations of the earth." Sade awoke from the dream with a newfound sense of purpose. She knew that she could not act rashly, that she must wait for the perfect opportunity to enact her revenge. And so, she put on a mask of contentment, hiding her true feelings behind a facade of servitude and humility. As the years passed, Bolade and Zuri's love only seemed to grow stronger. They welcomed a child into the world, a beautiful baby boy who brought even more joy and laughter into their already blessed lives. And all the while, Sade watched from the shadows, her heart growing colder and harder with each passing day. Finally, on the eve of the child's first birthday, Sade knew that the time had come. She announced to Bolade and Zuri that she would be preparing a special feast in honor of their blended family, a celebration of all the love and happiness that they shared. Bolade and Zuri were surprised by Sade's sudden show of affection, but they accepted her offer with gratitude and excitement. They invited all their friends and family to the grand event, eager to show off their beautiful home and their perfect little family. On the night of the feast, Sade worked tirelessly in the kitchen, preparing the most delicious and exotic dishes anyone had ever tasted. The aromas that wafted from the kitchen were intoxicating, and the guests couldn't help but marvel at the skill and dedication of the humble first wife. As the night wore on and the wine flowed freely, Bolade and Zuri became more and more effusive in their praise of Sade's culinary prowess. They declared the meal to be the best they had ever tasted, a true masterpiece of flavor and texture. But as the last bites were savored and the plates were cleared away, Saad emerged from the kitchen with a twisted smile on her face. She called for the attention of the room, her voice ringing out over the din of conversation and laughter. "I have a confession to make," she said, her eyes gleaming with a manic light. "The meal you have just eaten, the one you have praised so highly, was not made from the finest meats and spices of the land. No, it was made from something far more precious, something that Bolade and Zuri hold dear above all else." A hush fell over the room as Sade's words sank in. Bolade and Zuri looked at each other in confusion, their minds racing to make sense of what they had just heard. And then, with a cruel laugh that echoed through the halls of the grand house, Sade revealed the horrifying truth. "The meal you have just eaten," she said, "was made from the flesh of your own child." The room erupted in chaos. Zuri let out a scream of pure anguish, her mind shattering under the weight of the revelation. She collapsed to the floor, her body racked with sobs, her sanity slipping away with each passing second. Bolade, his face ashen and his eyes wide with horror, clutched at his chest. He staggered backwards, his heart racing, his breath coming in short, sharp gasps. And then, with a final desperate cry, he too collapsed, his body crumpling to the ground like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Amidst the screams and the sobs and the sound of shattering glass, Sade stood tall and proud, her face a mask of cold satisfaction. She had waited years for this moment, had endured countless humiliations and indignities, all for the sake of this one glorious act of vengeance. As the guests fled the house in terror, Sade walked calmly through the wreckage of the feast, her laughter ringing out like a bell of madness. She had lost everything, her husband, her home, her sanity. But in that moment she felt a sense of power and purpose that she had never known before. The news of the horrific crime spread like wildfire through the city of Lagos. People whispered about it in dark corners and shadowed alleys, their voices tinged with a mixture of horror and morbid fascination. The police launched an investigation, but Sade had vanished into the night, leaving no trace of her whereabouts. Some say that she fled to a remote village in the heart of the jungle, where she lived out the rest of her days in solitude, haunted by the memories of what she had done. Others claim that she became a wandering spirit, doomed to roam the earth forever, seeking vengeance against those who had wronged her. But one thing was certain: the story of Sade and her feast of vengeance would never be forgotten. It became a cautionary tale, passed down from generation to generation, a reminder of the terrible price that could be paid for betrayal and the lengths to which a woman scorned would go to exact her revenge. And though the grand house where the feast had taken place fell into ruin and decay, the memory of that night lingered on, like a dark stain upon the fabric of the city. It was a reminder that beneath the surface of even the most civilized society, there lurked a darkness that could consume even the most innocent of souls. For Sade, the Feast of Vengeance had been a moment of triumph, a chance to take back the power that had been stolen from her, but it had also been a moment of madness, a descent into the very depths of the human soul. And in the end, it had left her with nothing but the bitter taste of ashes in her mouth, and the knowledge that revenge, once taken, could never be undone.